For 2,500 years, some of the greatest minds in history have been locked in the same argument.
It is an incredible thread through history.
It is. Is desire the engine that drives all human success? Or is it actually a sickness that prevents us from ever being happy?
And today, we're going to pull out some of the most game-changing insights from that very debate.
We're talking practical wisdom that could really transform how you think and how you act.
It's a huge topic. But before we get into it, we should set the stage. You are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
So let's jump into the essay. The first thing that really strikes me is that they can't even agree on what desire is.
Not at all. Right there in Volume 1, you see this fundamental split.
It's the difference between lack and capacity, right?
Exactly. Plato saw desire as a lack. He thought it meant you were incomplete, that you have a hole that needs filling.
Which feels a little bleak, to be honest. It's as if we're all just fundamentally broken and trying to patch ourselves up.
It can feel that way. But Aristotle, he just didn't buy that.
He saw it differently.
Completely.
Yeah.
For him, desire is a capacity. Think of it less like a painful hunger you need to fix.
And more like a musician wanting to play music.
Precisely. You're not fixing a silence, you're exercising a power you already have. The pleasure comes from the action itself.
I like that. So instead of filling a gas tank, you're flexing a muscle. But a muscle needs to be controlled.
Exactly right. And that brings us to that famous metaphor in the essay.
The charioteer.
It's such a strong visual.
So you have the chariot, and the horses are your passions, your desires.
Wild, strong, pulling in every direction. And standing in the chariot, holding the reins. That's reason.
But the nuance people miss is that the point isn't to kill the horses.
No, you need them to move. Without desire, the chariot doesn't go anywhere. Reason's job isn't to stop the journey.
It's just to keep the horses from running you off a cliff.
And steering your mind is key.
Speaking of keeping your mind on the right track, if you're looking to sharpen that reason muscle, you should check out Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel, and it offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques.
All of it designed to inspire reflection and, well, rational thought.
It's a great resource. Now, back to those horses. This is where we get a really radical disagreement in the text.
A huge one. Who is actually in charge? The slave or the master?
This is where it gets so interesting. On one side, you've got the Stoics.
And for them, the horses, the passions, are basically just evil. They're enemies of duty.
So what was their solution?
A policy of attrition. In short, starve the desires. Make them so weak they can't possibly rebel against reason.
That sounds incredibly rigid, but then someone comes along and just flips the whole table over.
David Hume. It's a stunning reversal. He argues that reason is the slave of the passions.
So he's saying the charioteer isn't even driving.
In effect, yes. Hume's view is that reason doesn't choose our goals at all. Our gut wants something, and our brain is just the calculator that figures out how to get it.
Reason isn't the driver, it's just the GPS for the horses.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And that feels so uncomfortably modern. It sounds just like what we call weakness of will.
The Greeks called it akrasia.
Knowing the right thing to do, logic, is screaming it at you.
But doing the fun thing instead.
Which is basically the business model of every advertising agency on the planet. They aren't talking to your logic.
No, they're hacking your dopamine. They're speaking directly to the horses.
It is comforting, in a weird way, to know that our struggle with scrolling through social media isn't new.
It's an ancient human condition. And the enjoyment of learning this history comes from realizing we aren't alone in that struggle.
But it does raise a critical question for you to consider.
What's that?
If you aren't actively managing your desires, using Aristotle's idea of moderation, or, say, limiting them like the Stoics,
Then are the desires you feel every day actually yours? Or were they manufactured and put there by someone else?
now that is a thought to mull over. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book. Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think rationally.
See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments? Nourish your mind on the go?